Ready to go.
Okay. Good morning, everybody, and welcome back. Today we're working on this Echo SRM 230. Very cool little weed eater. It's the big brother for the SRM 225 you find off in the big box stores. It's a commercial version with a whole lot more metal and more horsepower. Problem with it is it's been sitting for a while, so it doesn't want to start. So the diaphragms are probably shot inside the carburetor. So we're going to have a look at it. So all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and it's what we work for. So let's get started. So let's have a look at this bad boy. I really do like the Echoes. That came off pretty easy. Looks like the air filter is the original, and it's pretty shot, so we're going to go ahead and put a new one on. And in this case, first thing we're going to do is pull the carburetor and see if we've got one already rebuilt and ready to go. If you're doing yours at home, the easy thing to do is go ahead and just buy a replacement carburetor for it. That was pretty funny. Okay, so to remove the carburetor, first thing we're going to do is crack the fuel tank open. If there's any gas in it, it's going to feed backwards through the lines and get back into the carburetor and make a mess on your bench. So you use a little screwdriver or something. I've got this tool that I use. Oh, I didn't even need it this time. But you can see as you pull it backwards, this goes into a little slot here. So it comes out pretty easy peasy. So our fuel lines, yep, obviously this one's shot. You can see it's very, very stiff. This one feels pretty good. So we're going to go ahead and put a new return line on. There we go. And here's a neat little trick. If you've got room, pull the fuel line up ½ an inch. So use up this and then cut it. And now you won't have any fuel leaks because it expands over time where it's plugged into the carburetor. Okay, our gasket looks really good on this one, so we're good to go on that. So now we've got a little piece of replacement line. We're going to cut a taper in it, get it ready to go. And if this is no good, if this feels really hard and dry, then you want to replace it also. In this case, it doesn't. It feels pretty good. Now we're going to push that back through, and you can see it finds its way back out. And with a turn like that, you don't always get that lucky, but this time we did. If you're replacing the fuel line on yours, if you buy your fuel line correctly, you can usually find it with this tool included. See, and easy peasy. Now I'll pull it the rest of the way through. And since this is a return line, it only has to be under the fuel, so we'll leave it right there. And we'll cut her here. So in this case, I've got a rebuilt carburetor. This one got rebuilt a little while back. It came off of another weed eater. And we're going to go ahead and use it as our replacement carb. When you put the fuel lines on, it's important that one is the pump and the other one is the return line. The one with more barbs is usually the fuel line. If you can see it, this one has one little barb at the end, and this one has quite a few. Let's go ahead and shove him on. He's being uncooperative because we cut it down just a tiny bit, and we got the new line that's never been attached to a carburetor. There we go. Let's get our return line back on. And there you go. And there you have it. It's really just that easy to replace the carburetor and go from a non-functional weed eater to one that's in pretty good shape. So on this one in particular, we can go ahead and attach the carburetor. Going very gently. And I always start out real soft like this. You can see I can stop it with my hand. That way, I don't inadvertently cross threads. And there we go. Now we're going to put the... Okay, for me, the video is already done, but I'm doing the part where I take the carburetor apart and prep it all and clean it all, and this will be the carburetor that I use on my next Echo machine that needs a carb. Now, if you've got a Zama carburetor on it now, you'll notice on the side of the block, this carburetor is made in China. So if you buy a Chinese aftermarket carburetor and save yourself some money, don't feel like you're downgrading the machine. Don't listen to the talking heads. Go ahead and do it, and it'll save you a lot of work. This will be my next quote-unquote new carburetor that goes on a machine when it's done. So if you're doing this and it gets fiddly like this, don't sweat it. Happens to everybody. Okay, she's halfway in. I tell you, most of these go just like that. You pull the accelerator and she finds her way back in really fast. This one was a little less cooperative. So let's put some fuel in her and see what we've got. A lot of times I joke that the most expensive part of the fix is putting gas in these things. Okay, let's get the gas cap back on, pump her up a little bit and see what we've got. And if you watch on your return line, you can see the bubbles coming back down. And that tells you the carburetor is pretty much full of fuel. Let's set the choke, make sure she's turned on, and give her a pull. And she tried. Now, you know, we do this working on things quite a bit, but it just occurred to me this morning, what if we did this from the perspective of the weed eater when we test it? Instead of sitting on the bench and pulling the cord, let's take it out in the yard and run it around a little bit and see it from a weed eater point of view. She looks really promising so far. I've never really looked at what it looks like from the weed eater's perspective. So this should be a pretty interesting video when it's done. And she sounds real good. She runs real solid. So this one's just about done. Let's run over here. Now, I know a lot of people like to run around with the weed eaters wide open. That's not my style. I run them at about a quarter or half throttle all the time. That might be the reason mine lasts 10 or 15 years, even when I buy a cheap one. So, all you new people out there, go ahead and subscribe. It's free, and you made it this far, you might as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.